Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Blue Abroad Show, Monday, the 19th of September, 2022. And for the first time since round 23, we have a little bit of a pep in our step. I'm joined by Paul Sebastiani. Hello, mate.
How you going?
I think it's the first time I G'd up since the end of the season.
Yeah, it was nice, wasn't it? I think Cripps' teammates, Doc and all that, I reckon his mate summed it up perfectly that it was a reward for effort for him. He had a sensational year, and it was pretty tight towards the end, wasn't it? I think the market was suggesting Neil was probably he was arguably he was the favourite, obviously leading in, and you could mount an argument as to why, but Cripps' start to the year was just phenomenal, and he was able to pinch votes when he probably shouldn't have. But isn't that always the case with these Brownlows? Like, it's a midfielder's medal, and we know that, but no one. I don't think anyone ever, like, you always look at these like players that have 5 and kick 5 and have 20. You think, oh, you might get a vote, but they just don't. So I thought he was cooked when he didn't get the 3 against Richmond in the first, but I'm so happy for him. So happy for him.
Yeah, we're going to spend a good chunk on the Brownlow last night and just talking about it and kind of just gathering where everyone was. Quite a few people here on the watch along last night, which was fun. I'm going to wait until we get a good chunk of people in before I play the compilation and get things really going. But where were you watching last night?
I was at home. Mate, actually, you're gonna laugh. I'd actually finished up some stuff for the day, and I fell half asleep on my bed, and Michael Maloney was buzzing me, and he knocked at the door. He goes, "Mate, I'm here." I go, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm here." He goes, "I come to watch a Brown." I'm like, "Oh, no worries." So we watched it together, and he had a nice little collect on the Quinella, Neil and Cripps.
Is that right?
He was getting a bit nervy towards the end. He was getting a bit nervous. I said, mate, I said by round 9 or round 10, I go, mate, don't worry about Brayshaw. I go, Miller probably won't get votes because Gold Coast they got smashed in a few games towards the end. I said, mate, Cripper and Neil. I go, it's in. And then we realised that Neil was not going to poll, or if he did poll, he would only poll 1 in the last game, and that Cripps was going to be a lock for the 3 in the last round because he won the best on ground medal, didn't he? So, and then he obviously that weight, like it's always, Carlton, Cripps, 3 votes. It's a special moment, isn't it? I love it.
It's so good. Well, I actually thought it was, to be honest, when he didn't get the 3 votes in round 1, I was like, I'm going to sit here and just it's going to be a dead rubber of a stream.
Yeah.
Last year was obviously fun because Walshy was right in the thick of it, but just didn't get votes in those last few games. And then, like, you always knew Cripps was most likely going to get the 3 in the last game because, first of all, he was amazing in that game, and then he won the medal as well, or the Richard Pratt Cup for the best on ground. And so, I to be honest, and you'll probably see it shortly, it probably wasn't until like round 19 where I'm like, oh, hang on. Because I thought Brayshaw was going to win it, to be honest.
No, mate. I knew, because I look back at all these games, and then obviously, I'm looking at the markets. I'm looking at the betting markets too, and I thought, why is he? Because he was initially favourite until maybe round 16. Was that?
Well,
I think that was the
case. His purple patch came in that middle chunk, and I just forgot that he didn't really dominate in the last month.
Yeah. He dropped right away, and all of Fremantle's midfielders were well ahead of him with regards to output, and they're all like vote getters too, like Mundy, and Brody was probably a standout too because he was in the cut and thrust of it in the midfield as well. But it just had to come down to the last go. I think it was funny it's funny how everything's come in ones. Like, we lost to Collingwood by a point to be kicked out of the season. Collingwood lose that prelim by a point, and now Cripper wins the Brownlow by a solitary vote. So it's funny how things work, isn't it? It's funny how we're all like, oh God, Carlton, we're all stuffed, blah blah blah. Collingwood get into the prelim, then they lose by a point, and now Cripper's got the Brownlow. So maybe the footy gods are saying it's not all hell for you Carlton supporters.
We should add, he won by 1 while sitting on table number 16.
That's exactly right, mate. I noticed that straight away, and I looked at it and I go, isn't that weird? I go, they're on table number 16. He won by a point, and he's also number 9. and we finished ninth. So it's all a numbers game, isn't it, at the end of the day? So look, I mean, I think that, you know what, the one thing I took out of it, and I was waiting for him to say something along these lines, and he said it, and the light bulb went off in my head. I'm like, yep. I'm like, we need to do it, not just for him, but for everyone else. But for me, when he said, my goal is to not be sober up here next year, love that.
Love it.
It's all about, mate. That's what people need to be talking more about. It's all about number 17 now, you know. I mean, and I think him deep down as well, he's the type of bloke, and I love that. I thought his speech was, I loved it. He's just brilliant, family values, and you know, loves his family and his partner there as well. Who, you know, it's been well publicized that she's been through, you know, a lot of mental stuff and all that, which is a big thing too. But you know, that's what you love to see, family together, you know, doing what they're doing, and you know, he's all about the team. You know, and as much as he knew that last night was a brilliant thing for him, and he honoured that, I think he knows deep down that, you know, there's still a lot of unfinished business at the Carlton Footy Club heading into 2023 and beyond.
Yeah. Well, I learned a little bit more last night about him, about, I guess, the club, where we're going. I mean, if I'm going to be honest, this time last year, like, you know, we've covered him and the whole team extensively on the channel, but also our whole lives. And I'll be honest, 20 and 21, I felt like 20, he had a bit of a down issue based on his own standards, and I was willing to just sort of look at it and say, well, you know what, he's been so good every year. It's bound to happen. He's probably going to have a little bit of a plateau. 2021, I started panicking because I thought he lost a bit of his spark and his will to just keep going. And then coupled with, you know, the contract talk, it sort of lingered for a little bit. And I genuinely believed he was leaving because it was taking so long. So the frustration crept in, and I remember one particular game against St Kilda in 2021 where they beat us. Maybe it was 2020. Anyway, I remember thinking about the journey of him and like Jack Steele, for example. You know, Jack Steele comes into the league from GWS to St Kilda, and he starts tagging Cripps, and then all of a sudden he's like racing past him, and he's, you know, a lot stronger and seemingly fitter than him. And I remember thinking, like, what is this? Is this a decline? Is this the beginning of the end of him? Is he leaving? Is his head not in it? Is his heart not in it? But I think this season, you know, he's obviously proven a lot of the naysayers wrong. I mean, Lee Matthews famously coined him as a journeyman last year because of the way he's playing.
Yeah, I think, and there were circumstances surrounding last year as to why his form had dropped off. And I mean, all you can do is look at what's being put out on the field and his output from a numbers point of view, and what the club are doing as well. Because I mean, he's the spearhead, he's the figurehead on the field, isn't he? He's your captain. And when he's not performing and your club's not performing, you think, well, mate, what's going on here? Is he mentally cooked? Is he buggered? Is he fit? And well, I think we ended up finding out last season that he was, obviously, his back was gone. He was knackered. He was buggered physically. You know, and I actually don't think, I mean, looking back at it, because we know what his standards are, you know, we know he's he's the best player in the comp this year with regards to the Brownlow. But I think because he set such a high standard for himself personally, his year last year, if you actually go back, and it wasn't that bad. No, you know, it was probably, you know, a well above average year for any midfielder in the comp. But just because we know what he's capable of, we were all like, geez, like, what's going on here? Why has he dropped off? And then I think when you realize that what happened to him physically last year, and now he's been able to get that right. And I don't think, and we keep saying it, I don't think you can underestimate how important it is to be not fully fit, but with momentum into your preseason. Your body's in a good area, and look what he's been able to produce this year. And he's had to be, you know, he was slung into a couple of different roles this year as well because of what happened with our midfield as the season went on. But I can't knock him at all for what he's done this year. I thought he's been brilliant. It's just now it's just all about trying to get these individual accolades and trying to get all these individual performers into this mold of a 22 that takes the field week in and week out.
Mate, spot on. So, you know, we're going to do a lot of that tonight. We're going to have a bit of a celebration. I'm going to invite anybody who wants to come and join us, do a little bit of a talk back session as well. I'm going to put the link in the comments shortly. And then basically how it's going to run for the next, 20 minutes or so. I'm going to play a little compilation from last night, which I'm really excited about. And then we'll talk a little bit about what's going on We've got Jasmina that's going to come and talk to us about some things she's got to have off her chest.
Look out.
And then anybody that wants to come on and just talk about anything, come and join us. So the link is going in the comments now. If you're watching from the Facebook group, you'd have to probably jump onto YouTube to get in. But there's the link. Now stand by. I'm going to play the compilation and we're going to start this show. So, everybody, welcome to the 2022 Brownlow Medal Watch Along here on the Blue Abroad YouTube channel. Well, that's like they say, that's showbiz, baby. Jasmina, should also give you a big shout out. Congratulations, you did it, Mr. Marchbank.
Mr. Marchbank, we had a massive chat about this. Actually, we are vibing with Nat. Doherty's Nat.
Yeah.
Nat.
No,
Nat is. Yeah.
Question: who's winning tonight?
Patrick Cripps.
Let's have a look at Pommy, what he's doing. Pommy.
Pommy. Wow. He's checkered.
He's got the checkered.
And he's gone blue. Oh my god, me and Cherry are in black. You guys are in blue. It's all happy.
Very fitting. We've done well.
Amazing. Well, ladies, thanks so much for joining. It's been a pleasure having you. And we'll see you soon.
All right, slay the day.
See ya.
Terror with 3. Tell ya.
Well, there goes Cripps' Brownlow, ladies and gentlemen.
I am actually shocked by that. Like the Matthew Kennedy too, I understand. The Cherub being in the votes, he was in there. But one vote with, 3 goals, 30 touches, 8 clearances. Jesus. There you are. Corruption reigns rife in the AFL. Always. It may be that Harry, this is interesting, Harry got a clearance in a ruck contest just in front of the centre bound square. So they may remember that. Always, that's one of the things you look for. How many centre clearances and where they got them in their stoppage clearances, because umpires love them. Absolutely love them.
There we go. The Bull, 3 votes.
But he keeps doing it, and he's in with a shout. Cripper tied first with 7, I think. 3 votes.
Wow. Hello.
Hey, you see, the umpires love him. Hello.
Cripper on top. Will he last there? Let's see.
Do you know what I mean? Oh, mate, I'd love it. Nah, Cripps has got a chance here. He's got a massive chance. I hope Cripps wins it.
Cripps 2 votes.
Come on, Cripper.
Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
Oh, Cripps 1 vote.
I feel like this is the beginning of the end, Pommy. We're starting to fall out here. Cripps 2. Carlton.
Come on.
3 votes. Come on. I don't want to talk too soon. Yeah. I don't want to talk too soon. But all I'll say is Patrick Cripps live streams on the Blue Abroad channel. There's a little magic in the air. Tell your friends, ladies and gents. It's time to kick home Cripps in the last few rounds here.
Come on, Cripps.
This was really the beginning of a series of events.
And then we can just start singing. He bumps who he wants.
He bumps who he wants. Carlton. Chera 2. Carlton.
Come on, you fucker! Come on! Let's go! He fucking bumps who he wants, and he fucking wins any medal he wants. Come on, Cripps! Come on!
He's done it. Sensational.
That's what it's all about.
He bumps who he wants, mate. That's what he does.
Ooh, have we got you, Tez? Hold on.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you, mate.
You can't hear me? Can you hear me now?
No, still haven't got you.
Stand by. Stand
Still
by.
haven't got you.
Looks like I. Can anybody hear me in the chat?
Nah.
We can hear you.
Maybe
you
it's
might have-
my end.
Yeah, I
Turn
think
the
it's your
speaker
end.
on. No, I've got my speakers on. Hold on a
What about
minute.
now? Can't
Hold
hear
on.
me?
Tech difficulties. Tech difficulties.
What about now?
Nah.
Nah.
Still haven't got you.
Everybody at home can hear us. We can't hear each other.
Hold on a minute.
What about now?
Let's have a look. Sis.
We'll let you play around with this. Hello, Jasmina, the backup.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I wasn't even ready. I was checking myself out.
How are we? We're just going to wait a moment until Paul can hear us, and then we'll get him back in. So we're gonna streamline some things. How are you?
I'm excellent. How are you?
I'm good. I'm feeling a little bit better after last night. Bit of a smile on my face now.
100%.
Yes. What did you make of last night?
I wasn't expecting it. Like, I actually wasn't. But when he pulled those 3 in the Adelaide game, I was like, oh my God, we're on here. We are on. We are on like Donkey Kong.
We are.
Very nervous. I was very shaking, like literally shaking like this. I couldn't sit down, pacing up and down. And my mum's like, can you relax? No, can't relax.
Yes. Well, we were actually told at the start. Tori guessed it.
I know. Bang on.
Got that clip forever now in the memory bank.
Yeah, don't worry. She sent it to everyone once it happened. Just gentle reminder.
One of the reasons why I wanted to get you on was because part of the show is we talk about the news that's happened over the last 7 days, and who better to remind everyone that Caleb Marchbank will remain a Carlton player.
Yes.
And signed an extension. So let's talk about that. How did you feel about that?
They took so much time. Like, they took way too long to tell me. I was very nervous. I was getting a lot of people telling me things from left, right, and I didn't know which way to lean. I mean, I always had faith that he would be there, and I could not see them actually getting rid of him. And I feel like if they did, it wouldn't have been a pretty sight. But I honestly had faith. Like, I did deep down, even though I was fretting, like, in my heart of hearts, yes, I knew he'd be okay.
Where does he sit? Because I mean, I think this year when we're all doing our predictions and the best 22s and thinking about what our best team looks like, Marchbank and maybe even Charlie as well, it was a bit of a pipe dream. It was like, oh, if they can get fit, maybe if they can string a few games together. So assuming he's fit, gets a full preseason under his belt, where do you see him in the team?
In his position, exactly where I reckon third tall in the back line. I think that he's best 22. I think his best football is best 22.
So do you think it's like a Wiedering, Young, Marchbank, McGovern, and then everybody else in the back line?
What I worry about McGovern and Marchie in the same team. Like, I know that we've seen it, but I just worry if it's too much. But then again, Marchie's very versatile. He's quite fast considering he's quite tall. And he knows how to play small. Good ground ball getter. He is my guy.
He is.
So
good in the air, good in the ground.
Yeah, I think he plays. I think he's versatile. So they can really put him wherever they want in the back line, and he can sort of do any role. So I think, best 22. 22 is in the best 22.
Like it. I like it. As for last night, what were some of your observations? Because there was a bit going on. I actually thought it was going to go the other way. I thought potentially Cripps would lose by a vote, and then Carlton Twitter would go into meltdown because he was robbed in round 1. It ended up being the best possible scenario because he's obviously won by a vote. And then AFL Twitter minus Carlton ended up going into meltdown.
Painful they are. They're a pain. Well, that's actually what I wanted to talk about, Terry.
Sure. Let's discuss.
So I'm not sure how many of the viewers are actually on Twitter or what they've seen. But the Melbourne supporters, the Doggies supporters, the Richmond supporters, and the Collingwood supporters wanted to remind everyone that Patrick Cripps is a grub because he bumps people and he's concussed someone, and it's not great. And I'm not saying that what he did was okay, and I do still think that he should have got at least a fine or something, but the fact that he walked away with nothing isn't a good look for the game. But it's not my problem, and it's not anyone else's problem. It's the AFL's problem. So people choosing to go for Cripps and his character really irked me last night, especially coming from Melbourne supporters whose Stephen May likes to bash his teammates off field. The Richmond supporters with Dustin Martin, who enjoys groping women. And then we've got Jordan De Goey, who also loves to sexually harass women. And Bailey Smith doing drugs in the off season. So I think, if our best midfielder, the worst thing that he's going to do is bump someone on field during a game of football, let him do it. Do it again. Do it again and again and again, because they have not got a leg to stand on bashing this guy's character. Like, that is what I got to talk about.
Yeah.
So.
Ugo with the 50 says they just need to get over it. Cripper is a superstar, and that he is. Thank you very much, Ugo. I think there's something that happened last night and even today that just reminded me what Australia it really is, in my view. Something I've really just learned over the years growing up, and I think leaving and observing Australia from the outside, especially when it comes to footy, Twitter, Carlton Twitter, and all of that. I mean, we live in this world where we live in a tall poppy syndrome society. Anytime someone seemingly reaches heights, there's always someone that's looking to say something to humble them or bring them down to earth. What I found, I mean, the supporters, they are what they are. The banter is there. It is what it is. They would have found a way to dig at us either way, because we care. We're passionate. We're the most passionate supporter base, in the league. And, we're a very connected supporter base to our club, and they know that we get, a little bit icked by it. So I think there's a bit of that to it. But then when I read the articles in the mainstream today, and you look at the theme of the articles, you look at the theme of the titles, it's always coming from an angle of, scandal or drama, or, it's as if, it was unfairly, the award was unfairly won, or the medal was unfairly won. And it just another reminder that it really is going to be a situation of us against the league. And that's the way it is. Like my Instagram DMs last night, I had a couple of people. There's one guy in particular. I'm not going to put his name up on here because I'm not going to use the platform for that. So I'll refer to him anonymously. He sort of wrote to me. He's like, "Can't believe he won it. He's a dirty cheat. He's a grub." And I went into this guy's profile, looked at his photos. Like, luckily it was private. And I saw the state of the guy. And I looked at him and I'm like, yeah, how do you get the confidence to say such a thing? And you wouldn't say that to me in real life. That's the internet. That's Twitter. That's the internet when you have a faceless profile and you're protected by it. You can character assassinate and not feel the repercussions of it. And, it is what it is. I'll say, fuck him. That's what I say.
Yeah. Well, I said my piece. So.
But it's not going to take anything away. He's won the award. I love the whole, he was released on a technicality and all of that. Like, it's just noise. It's just noise. But, it's all part of the game, the banter, the back and forth. It's going to be I also realized, and that's what kind of got me a little bit excited again for the first time since round 23. Wow, what's going to happen when we win a flag? Oh, mate.
Oh, you don't want to know.
Therefore, I think it was important for us to feel this pain now and be humbled, because it's just going to reinforce, how we're going to behave when it all turns around and we get our just desserts. And when Cripper is giving the Brownlow next year to Sam Walsh, it's
my dad said the same thing. I came home and he goes, "Well, she's going to do it." I don't know if anyone heard the interview today, but they were talking to Walshy about Patrick winning the Brownlow, and he literally said something, I don't quote me directly, but he said something along the lines of, I need to get better to help Patrick so that we can be the best team possible. And like, Sam Walsh is unreal already. Imagine if he went up a notch. Like, hello. I didn't think this guy could go up a notch, but I think he's going to go up a notch.
Yeah. I mean, look, on the one hand, I was actually chatting about this with Paul before we went live. On the one hand, you know, you think about it, we've got back-to-back Colemans, we've got the Brownlow medalist, we've got 3 All-Australians, we've got 5 that were named in the squad in the, like this year. I know we had a bit of luck that didn't go our way with injuries and things like that, but to have all of these things that did happen for us and to still finish 9th, on the one hand, I was pretty pissed off about that. And then there's the other end of, well, we're going to be better for it, you'd hope. Get a little bit of luck on the injury front, get some more continuity. Who knows? We you know, and there's never been a question about the individuals in our team. We've got good players. Maybe it's just the depth of the list and the, you know, that notion of the bottom 6. Maybe that needs to increase and improve a little bit more. And who knows?
I don't know if it's even that, Terry, because you look at the way that they handled themselves. You know, when we had so many blokes injured, they handled themselves pretty well. Better than I expected. You know, if you looked at our injury list at the start of this year and then told me that at one point in the season we would be 9-3, I would say you are dreaming. What kind of drugs are you doing? I would like some, please. Like I had no expectations of that being the case this year at all.
But, you know, we'll see. I would prefer to have 0 All-Australians and be playing in the grand final this time next year. But it's still good to have the recognition for these players. I think also with Cripps, he's, you know, we're so emotionally connected to him because we've seen him from day one. We've gone through the leg break early in his career and then the rise. And then you're thinking, oh my God, we've got a superstar in our hands. And then, you know, the peaks, the troughs, the challenges, the coaches that have come and gone. And when you really think about it, this is the first year in his career and really in our experience with this group where it's like, oh, we're competent. Are we a good side? I don't know. I think we're solid. I think we're a solid side. We've obviously still got a long way to go, but for the first year, I'm like, okay, we're looking more times than not like we're decent.
Yeah, and I think with obviously you got to remember this is Vossi's first year. It's our first year playing Vossi's way, training Vossi's way, doing everything Vossi's way. And I think, you know, 1 more year, maybe even 2 more years with, you know, working together and working out the game plan and the way that it's best suitable to all the players and like the way that it showcases their talents individually and their abilities. I think it was never going to be this year as much as we were all like, oh my God, it could be. I'm telling you, it was never going to be this year because that final series was unreal. And I don't think that we were mentally strong enough yet to get through that as far as we had hoped we would.
Yeah.
Well, here we go.
Back. Technical difficulties have been sorted.
Yeah. No, I brought you in, Paulo, because I wanted you to contribute to what Jasmina was saying because we were talking about this earlier too. Yeah.
It's an interesting thing. I mean, like I'm a bit of a, I wouldn't say I'm a negative Nancy, but I think that just because I think what we saw with Cripps last night and the individual accolade that he's won, it more frustrates me to the fact of knowing that we have these type of players and we have so many of them at our club that are capable of doing the, you know, incredible, but we just haven't been able to band it together as a team and make it count as a team on the field with regards to the ultimate success. You know, I think ultimately that's what we all yearn for, isn't it? That's why we go to the footy every week. I mean, when you're at the footy, you don't want you don't think about, oh, he might win the Brownlow medal or he might be an All-Australian or he might be you want your team to win. And I think ultimately that's what we're looking to be, you know, and that's what we want as fans, and that's what hopefully the club want to. You know, I think we've seen more of that this year, but I think that's where a lot of the frustration for me personally, that's where it comes from. I think that's for a lot of the fan base as well. So, you know, as much as these individual accolades are great, and I love celebrating them, but at the end of the day, I think what I said before, rides home too, where I think Cripps still got that little bit of unfulfilled, that unfulfilled thing inside of him of actually winning a premiership. And I don't think I don't think there are many in the club that deserve it more than him, given what he's been through. But you get what you deserve in football, don't you?
You get what you deserve in life. You know? And unfortunately, well, that's the hard part for us because we have no control on the on-field performance. We have minimal control on what really happens on game day. Let's be honest, So it's so difficult, and we give ourselves unequivocally to the game and the club, and we give it our all, and with no guarantee that we're going to get what we want.
No, it's a hell of a ride, even like when we're in the doldrums, and we're still, as much as we've improved this year, and it was a much better year from an on-field perspective, and we had all these individual accolades that have been bestowed upon our players. There's still something there that we haven't been fulfilled yet, and that's finals, and that's winning a premiership. And I think once all this simmers down, and once all this goes away, I don't think we're not that we're blinded by the fact that we haven't really done anything on field for so long, but I think it's more just the case of, okay, they actually are capable if they can actually stick together at it for a season. It's the now, isn't it? It's as simple as that. So, and even to highlight back on Jasmina's point with regards to like opposition fans getting into Cripps, I think, obviously there's a bit of jealousy behind it, and to think that he's a thug or he's a complete opposite of that. He's always been a ball player. No, I don't even think, the AFL adjudicated that it wasn't worthy of a suspension, and you take that however it may be. I think he's always been a ball player, and it's as simple as that, really. I mean, anyone else can say what they want to say, but at the end of the day, we know what we have as a captain, and he's always been a ball player.
Yep, always been a fair player. Plays the ball.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in the way, that's your problem.
Exactly
right. Spot on. So we'll see what happens. What else, Jasmina? Anything else on your mind?
No, I'm just over it, especially when they cheer for Jordan De Goey. Like, shut up.
Yeah, the double standards. Well, their champion Nathan Buckley was a big supporter of Cripps. Big supporter. Because at the end of the day, remember the conference. It's so funny, the irony in the same people that will complain, the bump is dead, the game's gone soft, we're playing netball, can't bump anymore, can't play the ball. Other people calling Cripps a thug. It's quite ironic. But anyway.
Tori's got a question for me, she reckons.
Yes, Tori, fire away.
Here we go.
We're waiting. This would be good.
What do you also think too, and to go into another, this is probably opening Pandora's box, but don't the AFL also have to be seen to be doing something with regards to the bump and like players' concussion and all that? So because we know that there are murmurings of this class action that's going to take place, like that, they have to be seen as doing something.
Totally, and that's where the grey area comes. Like, how much gravity do you put on the person playing the ball and initiating the contact, and how much gravity do you put on, like, you have the duty of care, how much of that duty of care should be instilled and taught to players to protect themselves?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, let's be honest.
With Tori's question, she's been
you have these courageous acts. And let's be honest, Calamachi, that was a courageous act by Calamachi. He put his body in a position where he was in danger.
Yeah, that's just the brutality of the sport, isn't it? And I think the men going out on the field know that when they step foot across the white line. It's not when you can get. It's probably the only sport where you can get hit from any angle. No padding. No, it's a brutal game, mate. It's brutal. It's absolutely brutal.
Yeah, it is. But Jasmina, always a pleasure. Never a chore.
Oh, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. Thank you.
Thanks for joining.
Enjoy your Caleb Marchbank musings as well. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks, Destiny. I love how everyone went crazy on Twitter. Like, I put my phone down. I was at work and I came back to it and I had like all these notifications, all these missed calls. I was like, oh my God, everyone was congratulating me. Like, I've done nothing, guys. I've literally done nothing. I've just sat behind my phone and gone, tick, 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 tick. And you're all like, yes, Jazz, yes, congratulations.
Such is the impact that you've had in a short amount of time in 2022, mate.
Oh, just wait, because I'm about to jump on the Brody Kemp train. So,
if you need any more news broken, Jasmina, just let me know. I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, beautiful.
All right,
Enjoy
Jazz.
your night.
See ya.
Kiss.
Oh, look who it is, mate.
Here we go.
Dress down.
I was waiting for him to lob.
No, I've dressed down after last night's shenanigans.
What is the t-shirt? I feel like there's a.
Is it the Supreme t-shirt you've got on? Oh, yes.
I'll bow down to the Moz, the real king of England.
Wow. Yeah. Good stuff for me. Good stuff.
How are we, old gentlemen?
Mate, we're good.
Very well. Very well.
What did you make of the Brownlow, the whole lot, the wash up today?
Oh, the compilation was touching. I had a little bit of a tear in my eye, if I'm honest, Terry.
So did I. I was like watching back at that, and like everything just flooded in from this year. Like, just I don't know. Like, I just like footy's just such a, what is it? I don't know what it is. It's just such an emotionally attaching community that you just cannot, you can never ever underride the emotion of what it brings to you. And that's why we go insane. That's why we love it. It's just, I don't know. How do you put a finger on it?
We all, I mean, humans are solitary creatures, but I think deep down we all want to be part of something. And I think that's what Blue Abroad is, isn't it? It gives us all a little place. And for some reason, like over 1,000 people had two best mates in me and Terry in suits watching it on a mobile phone. I mean, when you actually explain what the hell it is, it's quite pathetic, isn't it? Me and Terry have gone suited and booted, watching it on a screen that big, and 1,000 people are watching it with us, cheering on as some posh guy counts to 3 repeatedly. It's a bit pathetic, isn't it? But I mean, it's beautiful, isn't it? Really, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's funny. Like three grown men, adults, sopping over Cripps winning a Brownlow, and even in the last round, I know we've beaten, but like it's just like, what do you say? It should just
if you'd taken 14-year-old Pom to one side and said you'll be 36 years old in 22 years, mate, and you'll be wearing a suit, watching a stream of some dude get votes for playing a game you don't understand, I would have been like, pull the other one, mate. Here we are.
You wrote a comment earlier today, and it was interesting. Richmond had 4 All-Australians in 2012. The Coleman medal winner, the Brownlow medal winner, didn't play finals. Is it a case of next year and beyond where I think the answer is pretty obvious. You prefer to have less All-Australian, less individuals in the team, more of an even spread of contributors, and then just be playing on the last day in September. Like, what's the next evolution of this group? Because I feel like this was really only year 1 of us being somewhat relevant.
Well, I mean, obviously it's a team game, so winning finals is everything. At the end of the day, I'd imagine Cripps, if he's honest, and you said to him, if he retires, say, in 10 years' time and all he's got to show for it for a Brownlow, I'm sure he'd be the same as Nat Five, who says he'd hand them back for a flag. I think he'd be the same. But I think what it says to me is, we talked about it last night, we only had 3 players available for the whole year. 8% of our list was available for all rounds, which is not much. I think what that says to us, when you put it in comparison with 2012 Richmond, who had, I think it was 71 when I checked it, when someone asked me this morning, their list available for the full rounds. I think that basically says to you that Carlton are in a very good place, because there's a lot of games when you go through our list, and I keep being consistent with this, you don't use injuries as an excuse. It's a team game, squad game. Majority of sides play 26, 27 players nearly every game with a rotation for injuries. Carlton obviously have had to scrap that record book. So, yeah, I think from a Voss perspective, I think Voss will be like, look, another year of instilling my game plan. I don't think they'll go too crazy in the trade period. And I think that's the big difference between 2012 Richmond and 2022 Carlton.
Yeah.
I think our best 22 is a hell of a lot better than 2012's Richmond's. And I think that probably stands them in good stead because there'll be a lot of players now as well. Injuries will probably pay us back when we win a flag because Boyd has probably put himself in the 22. I think Lewis Young has put himself in the 22 probably a year earlier than planned. So I think when you look at it long term, even though it hurts, I think 2022, wherever this list retires, will probably be remembered as the year that caused it. Now, we've just got to change the ending to be a fairy tale.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to embed in my brain, Pommy, at the moment. That's exactly how I'm trying to look at it.
I think it's simple, really. I mean, I think the Cripper win is bigger than most people are making it as well. I think he's the big boss of that football club. Spiritually, emotionally, I think Cripper is kind of the poster boy of Carlton's shit years. Do you know what I mean? And I think for the players, if I was in that dressing room with Cripps, and I said it with you, Terry, at the start of the show, he deserves something for this year. Just something. And I think that's huge for Cripps that he's tasted being the best once at something.
Someone's got the YouTube tab open with the stream.
Not guilty.
Not guilty either.
Okay. Maybe it was just a lag. No, it's a good point. And then just to go back one step, you touched on Voss, and it's his first year. This time last year, he gets appointed, and for the most part, he pretty much gets to the list. Apart from Samo, and then you had the retirees in Murph and Betts and all of that. He pretty much says, you know what, you're all staying. You've all got one more chance. This is now, 12 months later. He gets to have a little bit of input into what does he want, what does he need. He gets to sit down with Austin, and he gets to say, right, we need this, this, and this. Which, from all reports, it's all about durability. It's all about players that can withstand the rigors of a season. It's all about planning for the understanding that we've increased the way that we train from a physical standpoint. We've increased the way that we play, definitely from a physical and a physicality standpoint. And we can't afford to dip in our training standards just because we have a few injuries. We need to have more players that can withstand the rigors.
Exactly right. I think, and Pommy and I were big on this sort of when we did that PPI for the first time, that I think our list as well, if you look at the demographic of it with regards to players that we've drafted and players that we've recruited, there's still a little bit of a gap there. And I think targeting the draft hard this year is probably the way to go. But then I think even to bring you in on this, Pommy, you were sort of saying maybe that towards the end of the year after the Collingwood game that maybe we need to go hard with regards to recruits. But I think conversely, you can also say, well, if you bring these new kids in, but players that we actually need, not just the most talented players, but players that we can actually fill into a role as well and could potentially, we don't know. We know they're 18. But you just don't know. They could just flourish out in the scene and could be players that we rely upon going into finals next year. I think we still need to go down that drafting path and really hit that hard because from what I've seen and the sample size we've got with Nick Austin, I don't think we can really knock him. I think he's hit the ball out in the park in his first couple of years at the club.
I think, to be honest, I've been consistent since about round 18. I think you need the right players in. And I think if I'm Nick Austin, if I'm not getting the right senior players in, it's quite easy with the draft the way it is and covering it at length that he can get 4 or 5 players in now. And I think if you look at Carlton's list, and if we're honest, you take the 27 best players on our list that make up the 22, and let's just say you could replace Liam Stocker with a Jack Noons type player that would be available for 365 days a year, 7 days a week, AFL average. I think Voss would rather have that on his list. Another 7 players that I know week in, week out will be there and available, and I can plan around them and say, right, Zach Williams is my halfback flank, but if he's injured, at least I've got this bloke here, Joe Bloggs, who is always going to be fit. At the moment, Voss has got this. If Zach Williams gets injured, oh shit, this guy's a serial injury specialist. So's that guy. So that's a big change. And that's something that JSOS did. JSOS, you see different types of list managers. And unfortunately for SOS, them list managers don't last long in the AFL who take punts. It's a little bit like the guy at blackjack. You don't see a professional blackjack player. It's pure pot luck. So it's the same with that, where Nick Austin's probably going to look at this and go, right, when I'm in the draft, do I take a Jackson Briggs who's guaranteed to play? Or do I take another punt at someone else who's slightly injured? You can bet your ass to the band dance that Nick Austin will take what he knows of speculative. And Jordan Boyd's case in point. I think Jordan Boyd, when you look at that pickup in the mid-year, it's probably the least exciting pickup around our pick. But he knew that he had the facets that he wanted. Elite kick, very good defensively. And he also knew the kid keeps in good nick. So I think that's probably what Nick Austin's looking at with pick 10. He's probably going to say, right, Bailey Humphries, if he's there, he's solid, he's exciting. I don't think you'll see anything exciting from Nick. And we don't need exciting. We need Magnolia paint. That's what we need. 5 picks of Magnolia.
Yeah. I've come around to this notion of like you can just get these durable plays in the draft, and then like I'm reading the comments here as well. I forget who wrote it, but JJ. Every premiership team has an influx of draftees that play in the flag that have come in the previous 2 years. Can't forget what the young ones do. They bring in energy. They don't know the pain. They haven't been Carltonized. Like you look at Jesse Motlop, the way he went about it this year. Look at Corey Durden, the way he went about it for the most part this year. That they've come in hungry. Brody Kemp, when he plays next year, he's going to be hungry. And I guess it's a balancing act between getting some senior experience, understanding that, those that are really leading the club now are, the Cripps, Wiederings, the Walshes, the ones that actually set the training standards in there. It's their club now. Cripps and then co, they're not young anymore. It's their club now. You got Sam Doherty and the like there as well. So any young draftee that comes in is going to come in with a first of all, they won't be playing straight up, I would assume. And therefore, once they do play in that middle part of the season, potentially when we're resting players or we get a couple of injuries, which happen from time to time, that whoever is going to come in is going to come in with an energy source.
Yeah, exactly. And I think too, I don't think we can look, and I know it's not the same pressure, but I don't think we can also underestimate what the VFL boys were able to do with regards to making finals this year, because look, I know it's not the finals experience and high pressure gauge of an AFL game, but it was just nice to see a guy like Jack Carroll, someone like him, a guy like Brody Kemp being the leaders and the guys that have to stand up in moments like that, and in moments where there are games that you just have to win to guarantee that you're going on to next week. So I think Dan O'Keefe as well, from that perspective, bringing in these new players and developing them to a point where they're not going to be, brought up by losers, so to speak, if that makes sense. So, I don't think we can underestimate that side of it too. But I think to what Pommy and I were sort of discussing as well, and what we have been over the last few weeks is that, and you summed it up well, Terry, too, is that these young kids are going to come in and bring this type of energy that, like, they don't know any better, because they're the best of their crop, basically. It's like, I know I'm good enough. I've been picked up. I can come in here and do a job.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think if Austin's looking at his draft hand and he's got 10 mid-20s and he's got projected 37 from Liam Jones. So one of them, you'd imagine that Fremantle may take 37. I doubt they will, even though that they are very fair like Carlton. I think they'll probably be looking at probably our second, which is probably about the money for a guy like that. I think you'll probably compromise, but Carlton will probably be looking and going, look, pick 10, I'm getting a very good caliber player who probably will play tomorrow. Yeah. Who'll play tomorrow. Anyone in the top 15 with the positions Carlton are targeting will play. And then the second pick is really interesting because there's players sliding left, right. I had a little Skype call this afternoon with a couple of legends in the draft. And you look at your picks late 20s, early 30s, there is so many people. Guy that we've mentioned on the show recently, Ollie Houghton, is actually sliding down the draft things. And one of these guys as well in the draft combine, I'm just covering it on my channel at the moment, will have a shithouse combine. Always happens. Yeah. Someone will have an absolute piss poor combine and go out of the top 20. And that's where Austin's going to make his money. But if you gave me 3 picks inside the top 40, you could probably do it. I know names have been thrown around like Harms, Bruce, Gunston. These guys now are all contracted, so they're going to cost picks. And that's Austin's call. That's Austin's call. But I don't think Austin will say, you know what, pick 28. I can probably get a better footballer long-term than Gunston in this draft because this draft is rare. From 15 to 40, there's very good depth talent. And it's obvious depth talent as well. Usually, I'm looking like a genius sat in a pub with Terry picking out a pick 30. Honestly, a blind man could pick out a pick 30 here for a player that can play AFL football. It is very, very deep. Yep. So for me, if I'm Austin, I want to keep my draft hand because Harry Barnett's an interesting one. We know I'm a big fan of Isaac Keeler, but Harry Barnett now is the highest he's rated anywhere in the AFL at the moment is 33, which is quite low. He's a very exciting talent, and he's that ruck forward like Keeler, but probably more so what Voss likes in his rucks. He's a little bit more thuggish. He isn't as creative and as exciting. It's a bit more of a throwback to the 90s where ruckmen were a bit tough. So they might be an area there where suddenly he's a forward first and a ruck second, but he's got a very good injury record as well, which is rare because Carlton, I don't think, have taken a forward or a key defender that doesn't have a history of injuries. I think Wheaterin is the exception to the Carlton draftee rule.
I've got a question that's just come to me. I remember there was a bit of a fear around the lockdowns and how it would impact the draftees.
Yep.
I don't know if it really has. If I'm thinking about the kids that have been drafted over the last 2 seasons who obviously spent the 2 years prior in lockdowns and whatnot, I don't know how much it's affected them. And then my next part to that is, are we now going to see an increase in the talent pool because they've naturally played more games?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, from what I saw from the NAB League this year in the few games that I called, there are some bloody decent players that just stand out. And look, I think you could also say as well, maybe as a kid, maybe just being in that space and in that bubble, maybe because that's the only thing on your mind, that you actually do develop your football skills better than what you would have if you had other things to worry about. You know, if you had a social life that you had to, I know the balance obviously might, having a social life and having life outside of football might also benefit your football as well, but it could go the other way too, I think, potentially. I mean, it didn't affect, guys like Walshy and stuff, and I don't think it had affected any of our young draft picks that we brought in.
Yep.
I think you'll find the draft class will get better regardless of what social disaster goes on. But the junior academies now are probably better than the AFL in the terms of the sports science that's equated. I was working with a good mate of mine a couple of weekends ago. He works at Australian Institute of Sport with golfers, and these 13, 14-year-old kids at golf, the hands of the data they're getting. And when I was a kid, going back 20 odd years ago, playing elite level golf, my feedback was, fucking hell, you hit the ball quite far for a young lad. Nowadays, they're getting data that I didn't have until I was playing pro. So it's the same with these kids. These kids have been fed data from the ages of 13, 14 of how to improve, not just from the eye and having some old chubby guy in a pot pie hat say you need to tackle, actual raw data and raw analyzation. A lot of these kids as well. I was speaking to a draftee this year and his family, and he was literally given by a scout Ed Langdon's data every week and saying this is where you need to be. And he's a draftee who's touted to go in the top 20, but he was getting that for 3 years ago. Like, this is who you need to model your game on. This is how you need to be. So you'll find now, looking at a player like Will Ashcroft, I'm telling you now, Will Ashcroft is everything you've thought and some more. But what is interesting, the guys behind him are a hell of a lot better up to 30 than we've seen for the last 2 or 3 years, which is the exciting thing. And it's going to get bigger and bigger. And Austin's got a very good hand here, because next year, I can tell you, the top 20, there'll be a couple of guys that shoot in to that top 20 next year, but the top 20 don't interest Carlton and the positions that Carlton are looking for. So really, this draft here, if I'm Austin, I'm saying, right, that future first is up, and I can get 3 or 4 guys right here, right now, that cement that and then we don't have to have the players like Marchbank being the second defender. We've got a guy who's a second defender who is always going to be there, which I think is the exciting thing for Austin. He's obviously taken the risk on Cunners and Marchbank, which suggests to me they're probably on last chance saloon. And I think you're starting to see now Austin phase that out and say, we're no longer what if, we're what now. And that is here. This top 30 telling you some exciting names. And anyone we pick out in the top 40, I'm going to be very, 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 very lucky to have.
Well, the extensive draft coverage will begin pretty much next week. We'll get through the granny, and then we'll start really just digging into it. Speaking of, boys, what happens on Saturday? Actually, wait. Summarize the prelims first, and then tell me about the granny. Yeah.
I was there on Friday night, and it was an absolute fizzer. And Pommy and I are huge on this. The way Geelong took away Brisbane's short options after quarter time was just nothing short of. It was so simple, but the way they are able to do it, and the way they were able to force Brisbane long inside forward 50 at pretty much every single opportunity, cut that off, intercept, and then hit them out the other way, mate. Honestly, it was a thing of beauty. It was a thing of beauty to watch. And the people I was there with, I kept saying, and I go, look at the way Geelong have done this. Look at the way they set you up. I go, look, watch, Brisbane are going to go long inside forward 50. Happened 4 or 5 times in a row in that second term. Like, this game's done. It's done. They were brilliant. And then Sydney Collingwood, like, what a cracker. What an absolute cracker it was. Who wins? You can't pick against Geelong, can you? Too big, too strong, too professional. They're the team that's done it all year.
Well, they've won 15. I don't think I've seen a team win 15 in a row and no one talk about it the way this hasn't been spoken about.
Yeah. Well, I think it's funny. One of the last teams to do it was, I think it might have been Brisbane back in their era with one of their flags when they did the three-peat. And Carlton did it in 1995. And Rocco and I and everyone have been sort of saying that it's a very, very similar vibe to that Carlton 95 team where everyone had written them off as too old, they're too slow, they're at the end of their tether, and then they've come out and just blitzed the whole field, and they've got one more game to do it. And you know what it is? Once they were able to start managing their players in the middle part of the year, Selwood had a rest, Dangerfield had a rest, Blitzarves had a rest, Hawkins had a rest. Once they were able to start doing that, that's when it's premiership time.
Yeah.
Geelong are just ruthless at executing the basics.
Yeah.
Probably
so
the most vanilla tactical side you'll ever see. It's not exciting. It's not special. It's just literally rinse, repeat. Yep. Probably the best drilled side in the AFL by a long way. And that's why Sydney are exciting, I think. Sydney are an excitement for them because I think Sydney, they're Hail Mary type football. You just don't know which Sydney are going to turn up. Do you know what I mean? They're the ultimate Instagram profile. Filtered to hell, but could also look like your nana when you meet them. Absolutely. You just never know which one turns up. So it's an interesting thing. But I mean, my thoughts were, I was actually on the fence with Collingwood losing, but I've seen how their fans reacted since Cripps gone. So I'm going to totally scrap my morals here and go, I'm glad they're fucking in pain. Complete bunch of spineless, two-faced, pathetic individuals of a fan base I've ever seen. I mean, hearing Collingwood fans on the Insta and Twitter going, "Oh, Cripps doesn't deserve to be there. How dare Carlton fans, be celebrating because he could have killed someone? Come on, grow up." Do you know what I mean? I can't take Collingwood serious anymore. I've never seen a fan base like them get round and harass young women, DM them behind blindless Facebook profiles. And it's always women, but then have the audacity to say something about mental health. Collingwood Football Club, from Uncle Pom, get fucked. I'm glad you lost by 1 point. I am going to celebrate it. I'm going to cancel my birthday next month. I'm going to have a Collingwood bashing party because you're all a bunch of spineless, two-faced wankers. So fuck you. Glad Cripple won. Because it annoys me because Cripps talks about mental health. So how dare you make it about mental health when Cripps says on national TV, I was thinking about not playing against the Brisbane game because of the things that were going on. Talks about the mental health of his people in WA through the drought and stuff like that. And I'm like, how can you hate the guy? you know what I mean? How can you hate the guy? Because we need more men like Patrick Cripps and less men like some of the wankers they worship. You know what I mean? And I'm starting with a few Collingwood fans. Look at yourself. You get into the DMs of a girl, probably a little bit of a tit, aren't you? You know what I mean? Get in my DMs. Be big. Be brave. I'm a bit bigger and tougher than they are. See if you do that. You won't do, though. But fuck them. Glad they lost by a point. Glad Cripps won by a point. Get fucked, the lot of yous.
To surmise that, I'd want to do my finest impression of Rocco. They deserve nothing but misery and demise for the rest of their lives.
Mate, no, I just maybe I'm old. Maybe I'm old. I tried to stay out of it, but honestly, seeing the way they act and some of the shit they've said, trying to make. I don't mind you having a pop at social media because I'll be honest, a lot of people on Carlton social media, they do shit for likes and clicks. They don't really mean it. Honestly, they're spineless individuals generally, but they give it the big one, right? And I understand why you fall out with them. If you're Collingwood, I understand it. They irritate me as well. But when you start making something about Patrick Cripps, and his character from one mistake, and then you start making it about other things, his mental health, think of the mental health of the people. Patrick Cripps is a very commendable fucking human being. Do you know what I mean? The things he went through with his girlfriend, stood by her. Tell you what, a lot of young men don't have the balls to stand by a girl like that, but he loved and supported her. Went up in my estimations. And the way he acted in his Brownlow speech, when Gill was having little pot shots, started to make it about Joel Selwood, you know, humble, absolute champion. You know, we need more Patrick Crippses in the world. That's what Uncle Tom says. More Patrick Crippses. A good fucking man.
There was a difference for me. Like after round 23, I was like, give it to me. Say anything you want about us. You know, we choked, all of that. I copped every bit of it. I didn't talk back because we deserved it. I deserved it. I ran my mouth. I said we'd win. I guaranteed all of that. But yeah, look, it's just we're alive in this time in the world. And the reality is none of these things will really matter in 5, 10, 15 years. And then when we're all dead and gone, the next arguments online will happen or wherever we're arguing in the metaverse. And, you know, it's just humans being and living, you know. So I try not to take it too seriously. But, you know, in the moment, you get worked up because you're emotional, because you care.
You do. It was funny when we were taking when I was taking talk back after the game, the prelim, like you have to be as and always, you know, obviously you try to be as professional as you can, but there were moments there where I just wanted to rip the Band-Aid off. And I'm just like, you know, you see things online and it's like, I'm always of the opinion that let's just talk about the footy. Don't attack the man, don't attack the person, don't get personal. Talk about the bloody footy, you know, and you know, and then the worst thing is, and I think you summed it up well, Terry, is that when people start going that, and then when someone comes back at them, and then they're like, "Oh no, look at me, look at me, look at me."
Mental health.
Yeah,
they play it.
That is the big thing with Collingwood fans. I've seen it way too much this week. Way too much. The mental health card. Now, people who know me know how special mental health is. It's something that affects my direct household. It's something that I fight very hard for. And do you know what I mean? When you start bringing bollocks in like that, when you're asking for it online, like I do YouTube, it's all I do. I try and stay out of this pathetic little nonsense, but I'll still cop it. But, you know, I'm a big, tough, ugly guy. I can take the DMs. But when you start making things people say or people do about something that it's not, sort your lives out, honestly. And I'll tell you what, I've seen a side of Collingwood by staying quiet this week that, you know what, maybe I was wrong when I said don't revel in their misery, because I think a lot of them deserve every misery they have, because some of the things I've seen the last 24 hours about Cripps, absolutely disgraceful. Like, I wouldn't say that about Adolf Hitler, let alone Patrick Cripps. You know what I mean? Like, it is absolutely a disgrace, some of the things they've said, and they need to take a long, hard look at themselves as people.
Yeah. Well, we'll move on. Paul, can you just let us know about this new gig and what you're doing so we can get updated? Because
I can let you know about it. So as far as I know, I will be hosting the overnight crowd on SEN, Melbourne's or Australia's home of sport. So I've been slung into that role. I'm sure a few of you heard me on the airwaves on Saturday night from 8 p.m. to midnight, taking all the talk back with the great Damien Watson, who I had the pleasure of calling VFL with earlier this year. He's a Carlton man, but he likes to keep that under wraps. He's a very, very professional media pundit. He's very good at what he does. But I will be on tomorrow night, I believe, from 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. And then I will be doing, as far as I know, I'll be doing the talk back with Damien again on grand final day, post grand final day on SEN, your home of sport. So Saturday night, as far as I know, I'll be on there. And then I think as of next week or the week after is when overnights will officially start with myself. So a little bit to play out there, but your boys behind the mic at SEN now. So get the petitions going to get me up higher. Thank you.
No, that's really cool. It's very special. This this journey that we're all on, right? Like it's it's temporary. We're here temporarily. There will come a time where there is no more of us talking about the Blues. It'll be whoever else the next crop is, and that's the reality of it. So to see the development year in, year out, and to see the opportunities that arise, like I think this time last year, Paul, we're talking about Bet Deluxe. 12 months on, we're talking about SEN. Like it's just they're little milestones along the way that it's really cool to see, mate. It really is.
Thank you, I appreciate it, and it's all, mate. Like this what we do here is probably been the biggest contributing factor to what's happened. It's it's enhanced the way I communicate. When I'm behind the mic, it's enhanced the way I thanks to Pommy and you guys. But Pommy's just been brilliant in the way he analyzes the game, and he's taught me things about footy that I wouldn't have even known about, and I like to use that as well. And bring that into my knowledge bank with regards to Aussie rules and all sports, really. That's what it's all about. So you'll be hearing more of me, but feel free to call in. We had Vince called in, Rocco called in, my close mate Adrian called in as well. So it'll be nice to hopefully bring over some people from the BA page and everywhere else over to SEN. If you're not already there, call in. I'll be on the airwaves. So I'm looking forward to it.
Love that. Well, Ulger has given us a 20, and he says his daughter shared the flight with Cripper on Saturday night just before the Brownlow. Cripper and fiance were so lovely and polite. He's a true gentleman. Yes, he absolutely is. Speaking of seeing Paul, we've got tomorrow's promo for the Jumper Punch. Is this the last episode of the year?
It will be. It will be. It will be.
All right. Well, I've got a little promo. So, ladies and gents, the final promo for 2022 for the Jumper Punch. Who is it going to be?
Jumper Punch. Jumper Punch. Jumper Punch. Jumper Punch.
The Jumper Punch. Jumper Punch. Jumper Punch.
Jumper Punch.
The Jumper Punch. Jumper Punch.
Jumper Punch.
Jumper Punch.
Jumper Punch.
Jumper Punch. Jumper Punch.
Watch the Jumper Punch every Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Don't miss it.
All of you. All of you.
All of you.
I didn't know that was coming because he didn't tell me about it. Oh, God. So tomorrow will be tomorrow is the second last show. Sorry, I'll clear that
second
up.
Last.
Tomorrow's the second last show, and then we're doing one more after the grand final, which we're hoping to have a few guests on for. But all of you. Make sure you watch tomorrow night at 8 p.m. And if you can't make it 8 p.m., make sure you watch it any other time that you can get onto it. So another big show coming up. But, mate, what a year. Over 50 episodes we've got to. It's insane.
It's incredible. It is incredible. It's very special. Pommy, what's on for the week, mate? What's coming up on the channel?
Oh, well, we're still ploughing through. We're doing 5 draft profiles of every kid that is in the AFL draft, all individual, never been done. I was told today by a journalist in Australia. So it's not just on YouTube now. No one's ever done individual draft profiles of every player. So we are ploughing our way through that. So if you want anything more from me, well, tell you what, I can't offer anything more than that's never been done. I mean, only one man. But
True.
no, that's it. We'll be doing that usual show as well. Faz joins me this week as well because he's back from his week off. So unfortunately,
Nice.
Kira is out in Faz, and that's about it really. But you'll see me around. I'll find a way of putting my face on.
And we've got the bones in work for PPI 2.0 as well, Pommy. So that's
We have, yes.
that could be the greatest sequel to a YouTube series of all time, I think.
I've heard rumors it could be the greatest sequel since Godfather 2 was released.
Mate,
which
Godfather 2's got nothing on us. Terminator 2's got nothing on us. Forget it. It's all over.
Rocky 2, that was pretty good though.
Love that. I've actually got something that might be of interest to some of you. So on Friday for work at Founder, I'm hosting a live session with a guy by the name of Cody Whittick, who's an expert in influencer marketing. So if there's anybody out there watching who has a business, who does business online, whether it's through social media or whatever, and he's looking to learn how to do influencer marketing and to market their products or service or whatever, send me a message and I'll give you an invitation link and you can join the Zoom call. So it'll be on Friday morning. I don't know if that's interesting to anyone here, but if there is anybody out there that is struggling with that sort of thing, let me know. And I'll be happy to help out. Boys, thanks for joining. I'm going to play the compilation to end the show because I love it. And good night, everybody.
Good night, guys.
God bless.
Go Blues.
Everybody, welcome to the 2022 Brownlow Medal Watch Along here on the Blue Abroad YouTube channel. Well, that's like they say, that's showbiz, baby. Jasmina, should also give you a big shout out. Congratulations, you did it, Mr. Marchbank.
Mr. Marchbank, we had a massive chat about this actually. We are vibing with Nat. Doherty's Nat?
Yeah.
Nat.
No,
Nat is... Yeah.
Question. Who's winning tonight?
Patrick Cripps.
Let's have a look at Pommy, what he's doing. Pommy.
Pommy. Wow. He's check-in.
He's got the check-in.
And he's gone blue. Oh my god, me and Cherry are in black. You guys are in blue. It's all happy.
Very fitting. We've done well.
Amazing. Well, ladies, thanks so much for joining. It's been a pleasure having you. And we'll see you soon.
All right, slay the day.
See ya.
Slay bye.
Error with 3. Tell ya.
Well, there goes Cripps' Brownlow, ladies and gentlemen.
I am actually shocked by that. Like the Matthew Kennedy 2, I understand. The cherubim in the votes, he was in there. But one vote with, 3 goals, 30 touches, 8 clearances. Jesus.
Interesting.
There you are. Corruption reigns rife in the AFL. Always. It may be that Harry, this is interesting, Harry got a clearance in a ruck contest just in front of the centre bound square. So they may remember that. Always, that's one of the things you look for. How many centre clearances and where they got them in their stoppage clearances, because umpires love them. Absolutely love them.
There we go. The Bull, 3 votes.
But he keeps doing it, and he's in with a shout. Cripper tied first with 7, I think. 3 votes.
Wow. Hello.
Hey, you see, the umpires love him.
Hello. Cripper on top. Will he last there? Let's see.
Do you know what I mean? Oh, mate, I'd love it. Nah, Cripps has got a chance here. He's got a massive chance. I hope Cripps wins it.
Cripps, 2 votes.
Come on, Cripper.
I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
Oh, Cripps 1 vote.
I feel like this is the beginning of the end, Pommy. We're starting to fall out here. Cripps 2. Carlton.
Come on!
3 votes. Come on. I don't want to talk too soon. Yeah. I don't want to talk too soon. But all I'll say is Patrick Cripps live streams on the Blue and Broad channel. There's a little magic in the air. Tell your friends, ladies and gents, it's time to kick home Cripps in the last few rounds here.
Come on, Cripps.
This was really the beginning of a series of events.
And then we can just start singing, he bumps who he wants.
He bumps who he wants. Carlton. Chera 2. Carlton.
Come on, you fucker! Come on! Let's go! He fucking bumps who he wants and he fucking wins any medal he wants! Come on, Cripps! Come on!
He's done it.